Hello, Starshine. My name is Liz, and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before, and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe, and maybe check out my other social media as well. I'm on both Facebook and Twitter. All relevant links are in the description below, and of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of my characters, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Finally, before I begin my Simsational story, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done. But I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with. Let's go. Today's story is from Audre Whitman, the Audacious Maid, and we're at chapter 8. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. Once upon a time, Audre Whitman had been Anton Lewis's sexy young housemaid, who he'd eventually left his wife for. They'd got an apartment and set up a little home of their own together, and Audre had worked as a barista in the mornings before coming home to cook dinner in lingerie for her hot new husband to come home to. They had been happy. Although that had only been 2 short years ago, Audre felt like a whole lifetime had passed since those happy honeymoon days. She had, of course, quit her job when she fell pregnant, and then, after the baby had come, Anton had gone away for work. Her husband had been in Mount Komorabi now for 2 months, and Audre had barely heard from him. That was because Anton was smack bang in the middle of yet another illicit love affair. Anton was a bit of a serial cheater. His first wife, Anastasia, had caught him at it more than once. He'd even had a secret love child with their next-door neighbour. And now that he was in Mount Komorabi, he had quickly fallen back into old habits. He just couldn't seem to help himself. Clarissa Brumfield was the wife of his boss, General Herman, but Anton didn't care. She was so beautiful and dead sexy. Clarissa had been a model before marrying her elderly husband, and her self-assured confidence made a nice change from Audrey's many neurotic, immature insecurities. Anton was obsessed. It was no wonder he ignored his wife's texts. Left isolated and alone in the apartment with their newborn daughter, Audre had slowly sunk into an even deeper depression than she had been in before Anton went away. Every day felt like Groundhog Day, a never-ending repetition of the same old dreary domestic drudgery, and Audre felt herself slowly rotting away until she was nothing but a shell of her former self. Audre cried every day. Of course, she loved her daughter. Cassandra was wonderful, so precious, so smart, and so beautiful. That wasn't it. Well, not entirely. Audre knew that she would have died to protect Cassie from harm, but somehow she still couldn't seem to find the strength within herself to want to live for her daughter. Not that she wanted to die exactly. She didn't even know anymore. Audre just felt like some kind of a giant, frozen, sad robot. Every day just going through the motions in a strange, disassociated kind of way. Cassie was beginning to walk and talk, and she felt nothing. Nothing at all. She didn't know what was wrong with her. It was at this stage in her life that Audre met Thalia Brown. Audre had had to duck out for groceries, and she had left little Cassie sleeping alone in her crib. It wasn't ideal, but What else could she do? She had no one to watch her baby, and no way of carrying both baby and multiple bags of food up the 12 flights of stairs to their small apartment. It was only for half an hour. She had been surprised to be stopped, and turned around to find herself confronted by the kindest deep brown eyes she had ever seen. Audre felt almost naked before this strange, all-seeing stranger who had called her to a halt to suddenly ask her in the street if she was all right. Audre, all right? She almost laughed, and then almost cried. She was never all right, not anymore. She didn't even remember what all right felt like. Thalia could never quite explain why she had done it. She had just felt like she needed to. Something in the defeated, downcast sort of way Audre had walked past her had pulled at Thalia's heartstrings, and she had to stop her. No woman should be so miserable. What exactly was going on? Did Audre maybe want to stop and have some lunch and talk about it? The words near about tumbled out of Audrey's mouth, one after the other, as she told this literal stranger her whole life story, all about her own absent, uncaring mother, whose footsteps she feared she was now following in, and all about Anton too, and their struggling relationship. Thalia was overwhelmed, but unwaveringly supportive. Audre shouldn't be living like this. By the time they finished their meal, Audre felt better and happier than she had in months. Just talking to another adult, another woman, who really listened to her and seemed to truly understand. It had made all the difference. If only she and Anton were able to talk like she and Thalia had. Unfortunately, Anton wasn't exactly a strong communicator. Audre texted her husband literally every day, often more than once. Yet she rarely received a reply, let alone a phone call, and he hadn't made one single trip back since moving to Mount Komorabi for work. Audre was constantly consumed by worry about what he was up to. In contrast to Anton's actions, since meeting Thalia by chance at the market that day, her new friend had checked in on her regularly via Social Bunny, messaging almost every day, and when one day Audre hadn't responded, Thalia showed up out of the blue to invite her out to coffee. She could bring Cassie. When was the last time she did that anyway? It would probably do them both good to get out of the house. They shouldn't be cooped up like that. She was right, and as Audre listened to her talk about her passions, the environment, recycling, and innovation, she felt something begin to come alive inside herself once more. It was like waking up out of a dream. Audre could almost see the fog lifting from her brain and world. Thalia had blown it right away with her spirited personality and support. Thalia continued to visit regularly and would listen with outrage as Audre described her absent husband. The man sounded like a total prig. Thalia was glad she was a lesbian. She couldn't have stood for half the things Audre described. She did her best to try to get Audre to realize that none of it was right. Audre was beginning to feel rather confused. Everything she had ever secretly felt inside herself that Anton had always made her doubt, Thalia was now saying out loud herself and validating. But it was all in the past, or most of it was anyway. The only thing that was current was Anton almost never talking to her. He could post on Social Bunny, though. She hadn't even known he was on it. She couldn't find him on there. However, when Thalia searched him, suddenly he showed up. Thalia said that must mean he had her blocked. Now, why would he do that? She was his wife. What kind of a man blocked his wife on social media? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 8 of Audre Whitman, The Audacious Maid. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. And hey, maybe think about sharing my channel with a friend. Or don't. It's your life. Anyway, bye!